Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Cleveland sports. I don't know what's a better two-word phrase. Is it play ball? Is it opening day? I don't know. They're both pretty good as far as I'm concerned. Indians open up in Minnesota today, and the Tribe will open up at home. That'll come your way against the White Sox on Monday. Also a great day because the NCAA tournament continues, Sweet 16 time, and that'll go tonight at various places throughout the country. Great day in sports. The weather's getting better. Let's play ball on opening day. The D-Man Dennis Manoloff is here. More Sports and Les Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine, it's a Thursday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine into our 23rd consecutive year, and as always, seen exclusively right here on cleveland.com. The D-Man Dennis Manoloff is here, in the dumps a little bit by what's going on in Minnesota.
It doesn't affect me, Les, but I'll say this to the viewers: we know that we are on during the Indians game,
right?
Okay. But it's possible that the Indians game will be over before we're done.
It's more possible.
You get to watch this in perpetuity.
Yeah,
you can watch this in any hour of any day after this.
Exactly. And not only that, if they want to call and comment about the Indians game, hey, our lines are open at 216-575-0403. All right, so it is opening day, greatest two words of in the English language, right?
Well, remember, MLB opened in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
They just had to do that.
I forgot about that.
But, yeah, this is the opening day for the rest of us. But yes, it's a beautiful day, and then you combine that with, like you said, the NCAA tournament, Sweet 16 games, and it's a huge weekend in sports.
It's a beautiful day until you look at the Indians' opening day lineup, and all you have to do is look at the number 3 hole. There you have it. That's the lineup they sent out in Minnesota today. Leonis Martin and Jose Ramirez, Tyler Naquin. That's the one that jumps out on me, D-Man, and then Carlos Santana. Hanley, Ramirez, and it continues on as you see right there. Eric Stamets batting 9th.
Listen, we said in the before the show in the action-packed control room, under no circumstances should Tyler Naquin ever bat 3rd in a lineup. Okay,
in Cleveland.
I'm sorry. He's gritty, he's gutty, he's a team player, yeah, but not a 3-hole hitter in any circumstance. I get it. Lindor's out. He wouldn't be there if Lindor was in and Ramirez and they had all their guys and Kipnis. Still doesn't matter to me. I don't want to see Tyler Naquin batting 3rd. And I'm not saying he's the only reason right now that they're trailing 2-0, but he's a part of it. Yeah. I mean, the one scoring opportunity we saw before we went on the air, the Indians have the runner on second with no outs, and Jose Ramirez probably pressing, as Ramirez is, apt to do sometimes, especially second half of the year. But in this case, he presses, he pops up.
D-Man, he's got to move the ball around. He's got to hit a ground ball to the right side, if nothing else.
Yeah, but then here's the thing. If you say to Jose Ramirez in that situation, get the runner to 3rd with 1 out, Jose Ramirez will come back at you and say, and what? You're going to have Tyler Naquin drive him in? Well, guess what? The runner doesn't move, Naquin strikes out. Now it's 2 outs and a runner on second, and the next guy makes it out.
The advantage that you had. Baseball is a tough game. Kluber was sensational, still is sensational, and he'll probably get an L for his efforts.
Yeah, we'll see if the Indians can prove us wrong with their offense late at Target Field. We do know that Bob Feller, presumably in heaven there, was wiping his brow when Kluber went 5 no-hit innings.
Almost perfect. He gave up a walk with 2 outs in that 5th. But you're right. I was watching that show that was put out a year or so ago about the the dynasty that wasn't, or whatever they called it, about the Indians.
Yes.
And showing a tape of Feller pacing when Randy Johnson was pitching.
Les, it's absolutely true. There's nothing mythological or hyperbolic about that. He genuinely grinded or ground about that very thing. People think, oh, it was no big deal. It was a huge deal to Feller.
For him, and at least he went to wherever he went with the knowledge that he was the only man with the opening day no-hitter.
He used to sit a couple seats down from me in the press box,
right.
And I was there for several openers, of course, with him, and or more than a few. And there was one time where I swear I caught him with a sheet that had every game.
And checking him
and
off
he was
if somebody
checking
got a
on.
hit?
I swear he would never let me look at it, and I wasn't going to go reach and grab into his papers. But it looked to me like he had a score sheet with all the games, and he was checking off whenever somebody gave up a hit.
Don't you think the Miami Dolphins of 1972 do the same thing?
Yeah,
maybe they can combine. Should have combined them in one party.
And honestly, Les, if I were Bob Feller and I had that distinction, I would want that too.
Well, not only that, if you're a fan of baseball and Indians baseball, he deserved to have that honor as the only one. It's like, I'm not saying I do this, but, well, maybe I am. I'm a Heisman Trophy voter. And I got to admit, when it comes to having a guy go for the second one in a row, and that hasn't happened yet, I've been doing it for 5 or 6 years. But there's a part of me that believes that Archie Griffin should, even though he wasn't the greatest running back of all time, but he's had the title so long, I think he deserves to keep it.
Yeah.
Bad judgment on my part?
Griffin has had to fend off a few competitors in recent years. But, when I think of Feller, too, Les, you have to think of him when you're in Cleveland opening day, let alone any other day, but I mean certainly opening day. Remarkable numbers across the board. 3 no-hitters, that's great. 12 one-hitters.
That's great. That may be greater.
Is insane.
You know,
12
he told
one-hitters.
I don't think he said this early. This was about 10 years ago. He talked to me about the opening day no-hitter, and I don't think he would have done what I'm about to tell you. I don't think he would have done this nearer to the time that it happened. Luke Appling, a Hall of Famer, one thing he was most noted for, besides being a Hall of Famer, is he was able to foul off pitches probably better than anybody in the history of the game, at least before they got into the electronic stuff now where they can tell more. But he was noted for fouling pitches off. And Feller was facing him with 2 outs in the 9th inning in that game in Chicago. And he had a 2-2 count, and according to what Feller said, and I suppose I should have checked it, he said that Appling fouled off 6 pitches in a row. And then Feller said to himself, the heck with this, I'm walking him. Well, he didn't have the catcher go out of the box to get it. He just threw 2 balls in a row, and then got the next guy and got the no-hitter. That's sort of knowing how macho Bob was. I'm surprised he would have admitted that.
It was the unintentional, intentional walk, and then an excellent play by, I believe it was Mack at second base into the hole. Feller talked about it with me in an interview, and of course with everybody that he talked about when that topic was discussed. But he was saying that was a heck of a play by Mack.
Yeah, Ray Mack, of course, Tom Mack, the Hall of Fame football player, Tom Mack, that was his father. Tom Mack used to deliver plain dealers in my neighborhood back in the day. 216-575-0403. You and I made some predictions.
Yes.
I wouldn't tell people to go to Las Vegas with this in their pocket.
And let me just say this. Whatever result is of today's game, please, fans out there, do not fall into the trap that and invariably some people will, but be smarter. One game does not a season make.
No,
if the Indians lose today, they're not a crappy team. If they win today, they're not unbeatable.
You know what I would say about Indians fans, and maybe other fans too, that if they lose today, game 1, and then win 6 in a row, people still complain about the one that they lost.
Yeah.
Right?
After the opener, you've made up your mind.
Let us take a look at the predictions that the D-Man and I came up with. I had the Indians' final record as 91-71. Team MVP Francisco Lindor. The surprise of the year, Mike Clevenger. Let's take a look at what D-Man had to say. This is the D-Man's final predictions, 89-73. Corey Kluber, the MVP. Surprise of the team, Leonis Martin in that one.
I picked Kluber as MVP because I didn't think that Lindor would play enough.
Right.
Now, he could very well be back soon and still get a full season in, but I was hedging my bets given his injury situation.
We made too much of one game, perhaps. All right, let's. Shall we continue, or? When we come back, we'll let you know how our predictions went in MLB. See who continues on and who goes and plays for the gold. or plays, of course, for the World Series trophy. We'll do that when we get back. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. D-Man is a historian of the game. I don't know how much he knows about this era of the Indians when Bob Feller first came up, 1937 to 1942. Scott Longer does a terrific job, wrote this book, Bad Boys and Bad Times. If you know anything about Indians history, you know about the bad boys, you know about the crybabies, rather, and you know about Raleigh Hemsley, a catcher who was an alcoholic at the same time, and Bob Feller coming up and then going back to Van Meter, Iowa to finish off his senior year as a member of the Van Meter. Do you know what their nickname was?
I do not remember.
The Van
that.
Meter Vamps? I don't know what it was. Anyway, Scott Longard has written the book. Check out scottlongard.com for more information on book signings. We'll come back in a moment. The D-Man, Dennis Manoloff, is with us. A little later, Mike Macetta from Nature's Stone, right here exclusively on cleveland.com.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Birthdays for today, the 28th of March. There's one commonality in the birthdays for today. You see Rick Barry on the left, but Jerry Sloan from Holland, Indiana, born in 1942. Matt Stick, 1947. Byron Scott, former Cavaliers head coach, and Luke Walton and Derek Carr. Now, let me just say one thing about that group of basketball players. Jerry Sloan, Rick Barry, Byron Scott, and Luke Walton. These guys were as fundamentally sound as any group of basketball players you could find.
Yeah, and Byron Scott had a raw deal here,
right? But he knew it.
And Luke Walton, I mean, come on, you really think Luke Walton's coming back after this year
with the Lakers? No. Yeah. Do you think that Ty Lue will?
I mean, I think Lue's got as good a shot as anybody. Here's the thing: the Lakers are facing. They're in with LeBron. Okay, assuming they don't trade him, and I don't think they will. I don't think that's realistic. Once you bring him on, he's going to pull the strings. Yeah. No matter what he says, he's making the calls.
No question about it. Brian tells me we have an update.
Uh-oh.
And that update is what?
Oh,
they didn't score. All right, bottom of the eighth. Indians with 2 hits.
Brian was teasing us. He was telling us it was like
bases
loaded,
no outs. Yeah, we knew they had a guy on base.
And you can't root for the home team, but for the Indians fans' sakes, again, it's only going to be one game if it's a loss. But there is no denying, Les, that this lineup, even when healthy, is presumably going to be scratching for runs. And it leads me to this. 3 guys out there that bother me that did not come to Cleveland. Nelson Cruz, to me, an affordable contract in the 30s. Marwin Gonzalez.
You and I have been talking about Marwin Gonzalez.
Not only is he an Indians killer, but he's a switch hitter. He can play all sorts of positions. Yeah, you'd say, well, you don't commit to him for 4 years like the Twins did. It's still a reasonable deal at, I think, $8 million a year.
Right.
And Michael Brantley. I mean, to me, Michael Brantley, 2 for 32. What? I mean, that's not breaking the bank.
2 for 32 is almost Hugh Jackson's record.
I realized as soon as Gomes was traded in this past offseason, you knew that the Indians were not going to add a significant piece monetarily.
Yeah, you're right. That was the
but
beginning
that
of the
doesn't
end.
mean you can't sit there and look at some of these deals and go, why couldn't they have come to Cleveland?
All right, while the game is still on, and you're watching us, you can certainly chime in on what's going on and make it current. We're talking about what's going on in the Indians game up in Minnesota. We are open to do that. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Let's continue on with our predictions.
Okay.
Me and the D-Man did that.
We might serve as a post-game show, Les. Do you
We
realize
could,
that?
absolutely. It's a quick
Impromptu
game over
post-game
there.
show.
All right, I had the AL Central winner, the Cleveland Indians, the East winner, the Yankees, Astros to win the West, wild cards, the Red Sox and the Rays. I had in the National League the winner to be the Cardinals in the Central, East winner, the Phillies, the Dodgers in the West, and the wild card teams would be the Braves and the Mets. D-Man, let's take a look at what you had. You've got the Indians as the winner. You got the Yankees. You got the Astros.
No
Red
differences
Sox, the Rays.
with you
We
in
had
the American League.
Same in the
Yeah.
American League.
Okay.
You got the Brewers, the Central winner in the National. The Nationals in the National League East. Rockies in the West. A wild card spot. The Dodgers and the Phillies. And who do you have to win as we continue on? Well, we'll get that.
I need a reminder on who I picked
me
to
too,
win.
so long ago. It was so
you
long
and I
ago.
see the American League the same way. Here we go.
There you go. I have the wild cards, the Red Sox beat the Rays in that game, and the Braves to beat the Mets. You have in the predictions, you've got the Yankees. Wait
This
a
is
minute,
you.
we
No,
skipped
this is
something.
you.
Oh, this is me. Championship Series, I have the Yankees to beat the Astros and the Phillies to beat the Cardinals in the National League. World Series, the Yankees to beat the Cardinals. I must go on record as saying I hate the Yankees.
Right.
D-Man, you've got the Red Sox beating the Rays, the Phillies over the Dodgers.
In the wild cards.
In
Okay,
the
now
wild
we've
cards.
got the
then
division.
you got division. The Yankees to beat the Red Sox, Astros over the Indians, Brewers to beat the Phillies, and the Rockies to beat the Nationals. And then I've got in the championship series.
No, that's me. That's me.
No, that's D-Man. Championship series, Yankees beating the Astros and Brewers beating the Rockies, and the World Series championship going to the Milwaukee Brewers beating the Yankees.
Yeah, I really liked what the Brewers did last year. To me, they easily could have been in the World Series. Lost a tough series to the Dodgers. I love their core, and I don't think they lost all that much. So I like the Brewers coming out of the NL. And you know what's going to happen in the American League Division Series. Brantley will have 6 home runs, and Bauer will give up 4 of them, and the Indians will get swept by the Astros.
Ouch.
I hope that doesn't happen for Indians fans' sake.
we're
But
due
you
for
know
one of
Brantley's
those.
going to have a big series against the Indians. You just know it.
We're due for one of those, no question about it. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. We'll be checking in with Mike Masetta at Nature Stone. Do you have any thoughts, just to change the subject for a little bit, the fact that Kyrie Irving has sat out the 2 games in Cleveland from Boston? You think there's any significance to that, or is it coincidence?
Oh, it's not coincidence at all. It's absolutely something that Irving planned. You're not going to. Now, the first one, it was left hip, but I think he played very soon after that, so they could hide behind the hip. This time, they didn't even try to hide.
No.
Instead of load management. They could have said strained hamstring if they felt like it, but no, he says load management. But here's the kicker, though. He's the leader, supposedly, on this team that's lost 4 in a row. You would think, the Celtics had lost 4 in a row going into the game.
Right.
You would think that he would say, you know what? To heck with load management. I'm coming out here and I'm leading this team to a victory to stop this losing streak.
Speaking of stopping,
I won't, and I don't think he was even there, Les.
No, he wasn't
the other night.
All right, and
in the
speaking
building.
of stopping, there's been a lot of talk that it's an assumption that 10 years from now that they're going to put a statue up for Kyrie for the that game-winning shot against the Golden State Warriors. I would say whoever makes those decisions, forget about it. You can't do that. LeBron is a different story.
Right, I'll pass on the Irving thing. You could do something to designate the Irving shot short of a statue. All right, to me, the only Cavalier who deserves one is LeBron. And you have heard me on previous shows. I'm critical of LeBron in L.A. I think that it's kind of funny that his team's out of the playoffs or didn't make it. But I've never said that what he did in Cleveland wasn't monumental and I've never let anything that happened away from Cleveland tarnish what he did here. So for what he did here, he deserves a statue.
But Kyrie is going out of his way to rip Cleveland.
But yeah, Irving's a different case because he didn't play here long enough. Right. He made the critical shot, and yes, he was huge in the playoff series, but he doesn't deserve a statue.
Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. Catch the excitement of live harness racing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday with a 6 p.m. post time. Open early every day for simulcast action. The Road to the Derby contest continues through April 20th on each Saturday. A weekly Sunday contest featuring Gulfstream Park. Top prize $500 a week, and that's through April 14th. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. We'll come back, find out what Mike is thinking, exclusively on cleveland.com.
Your basement is damp, dirty, and not somewhere you want to spend time. Let Nature Stone Flooring transform your basement into a true extension of your home. Nature Stone's proprietary hydrostatic ports allow water to simply evaporate, so no mold or mildew. Nature Stone is the affordable basement floor solution that beautifies your home.
Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of March and get up to 50% off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Two 216-575-0403 is the number to call if you'd like to get in. We'll,
just checking on the Indians.
And nothing changed.
Still 2-0 as far as we know.
All right, Kluber wasting a game here. Not his fault, of course. Let's go to the phones and the hotline. We just got a hotline. We're going to find out what Mike is thinking. Mike Masetta from Nature Stone. Hello, Michael. How are you? Remember, it's only one game.
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm on the hotline, but yeah, they're gonna. I don't know if they're gonna go 0-162, but it doesn't look like they're gonna pull this one out. So.
No, and it's a wasted effort by Corey Kluber, who when we were watching earlier, I'm thinking perfect game, but that was not to be the case. So you hate to waste it. Wins are tough to come by in that league, no question about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, he definitely looked good today, and you know he's aced, and you know he pitched his career off. So, but that Berrios is tough, and man, that lineup looks bad without Lindor in that lineup.
Yeah.
But if you're seeing Lindor's name, you know, in that lineup, lengthens it a little bit and gives you a little bit of hope. But without that name in the lineup, my goodness, is that a AAA lineup?
D-Man Dennis Manoloff with us. D-Man, you know Mike. You've spoken to Mike. You've argued with Mike.
No, Mike makes. What's up, Mike? And you make a very solid point in the not only the tangible benefit of a star such as Ramirez, but the intangible benefit. Excuse me, Lindor. And Ramirez to a degree, but Lindor, yes. In this case, you have not only is the tangible bat and glove missing, but the ability to lengthen the lineup, the ability to take pressure off certain guys because he's in there. Maybe somebody says, I got to swing for the heels because Lindor's not in here. So, yeah, these stars are more than just the stats on the back of the baseball
Mike,
card.
they had a situation earlier in the game where Ramirez was up with the man on second and nobody out, and he popped up near second base. And, you know, D-Man and I were talking. Normally you want to just move the ball over, but on the other hand, when you've got Ramirez up there and you have Tyler Naquin third, you may not think that's the right thing to do, and maybe he talked himself out of doing the right thing.
Sure, that's exactly right. So he probably tried to do too much in that plate appearance.
Yeah.
He could have rolled one over, moved him over to third, and then a fly ball or a ground out would have gotten a run in. But instead, he's trying to hit the double in the gap and get them going because he doesn't think anybody else behind him is going to drive the ball in or drive the run in. Excuse me.
Right. Well, they schedule, especially up north, they schedule an off day after opening day so that you got an ability to have a rainout game if necessary. But now when you lose a game, and they haven't lost yet, but when you lose a game, you say, come on, let's get out there and play another one as quick as we can. So that off day makes it even tougher on the team.
Well, that's the thing with baseball, but I think the Indians have a pretty good perspective on things. I mean, they know that this is one of 162, not to quote the great Jake Taylor and from the movie there from Major League, but they know what this is. They know that tomorrow's an off day and they've got a whole lot of games left. But great for the Twins' psyche to take care of business in Game 1, and we'll see what happens in the series. But if they show that they can beat the Indians here early, even though it is really early in the season, that's a young team that picked up a lot of pieces in the offseason, and that could be something that springboards them to a good start to the year and gives them a little bit of hope that they can take on the Indians in the Central.
Mike,
I
got a question.
Doesn't happen, but it could be.
Mike, I got a question for you. Assuming both of these guys finish the season with the Indians, which one has a more productive season? Carlos Gonzalez or Hanley Ramirez?
Wow.
Oh, that's a great question. I would say just from the sheer opportunities that he'll get because he plays in the field a little bit more, I would say Carlos Gonzalez. I think he's a little bit younger. He can play all three outfield positions, and I think that he's coming in with a little bit more professional experience in recent years than Hanley. Hanley's kind of relegated to being a DH now, and I think he's pretty much been out of baseball for the last couple of years, or at least injured.
Well, he was out. Yeah, the Red Sox cut him loose early last year. Yeah. The Red Sox cut him loose early last year.
That's a great question.
Yeah. But that's a really good question. My guess would be Carlos Gonzalez.
I would agree. I don't trust Hanley to get through the entire season with the Tribe. I hope I'm wrong.
I agree.
Well,
I agree. I hope he does, because if he does, that means that he's being productive. But I agree with you. Yeah, he's got to do a lot to get through the season, and he's got to have a really good start to the year.
Mike, you made a good point a couple of minutes ago, but I think it changes. You said that they know it's 162 and all that stuff. There are 3 or 4 players, though, that don't have that luxury of leaning on 162 games. There's 3 or 4 players who better produce in the month of April.
Yeah, and that's always been a tough thing with the Indians. The Indians have never been a great, particularly run-producing team, but just from a wins and losses standpoint in the month of April. But yeah, they got guys on this team right now that better produce, early, or they're going to start making some moves and bringing some kids up to take those positions away. That's for sure.
No question about it.
Yeah, and I think there's a psychological element, Mike, and less to the Indians playing well early because, number one, you're not going to have the Cavs in the playoffs gobbling up those first 2.5 months of your season. And number two, the draft in this town has been de-emphasized because of Mayfield. And because you don't have a first-round pick. So I don't think there's going to be all that much fervor about the draft, at least vis-a-vis recent years. So the Indians, for the first time in a while, have an opportunity or have everybody's attention. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, you might have said we'll pick up the Indians after the first 6 weeks. Well, now it's more emphasis on...
Or 2.5 months.
Or 2.5 months.
LeBron was taking them into the finals every year.
You're right. So this is an opportunity, and you keep hearing about how bad the Indians' attendance is, and it is generally in April and May, but this is a time if they could get hot early on. But, Mike, as I said to Dennis earlier, that a lot of times fans in Cleveland, if you lose the opening game and win the next 6 in a row, they forget the 6, but they remember the 1.
Yeah, that's right. In baseball, it's the best long season. Yeah. But us here in Cleveland, we know a lot of heartache. We've seen it all, and even though the Cavs got one, we've still seen a lot more bad than we have good. So when they lose that opener, it's
Yeah, I believe he's 0-3 going into today.
Yeah, I never knew that. I just out of sheer skepticism and paranoia, I'd have pitched Bauer today or somebody else. Like Kluber take game 2.
Yeah, let it stretch out to April 1st. Yeah, no question about
there
that.
you go.
So what you're saying to me is Kluber is not very good in April or in October.
Those seem to be the 2 months. Everything in between he does real well. But yeah, the April and October, he's although October a couple years ago in 2016 he was really good.
And you know what? He takes some.
His last 2 years.
Yeah, he takes some hits, but there aren't too many guys I'd rather have on the mound to win a game for me than him.
No, you're watching him today, and I've been an advocate for training him, trying to pick up some offense, and use him as a trade chip. But my goodness, when you watch him pitch, you just say, gosh, if they could just score a couple of runs, this guy could win every game that he's out there. So it's a good thing to see him in an Indians uniform, and I'm glad that he's here.
I was telling somebody the other day, if you want to learn, maybe the average fan doesn't know how to pitch or what a pitcher does, just watch Corey Kluber, see what he does with the movement of the baseball and how he works the count. He's the guy that can teach average fans something about the art of pitching.
And I'll give you one other thing that he does really, really well, his pace. It never changes.
Yeah, right.
He pitches at the exact same pace the entire game, and there's a lot to be said for that when you're on the mound. That's something that you try to teach the youth players, especially because they like to speed their windup up or speed up their windup a little bit too much, and also they do the same thing with the stretch, and that can get you out of balance and it can get you out of rhythm really fast. He never strays from that same pace. Always the same as he's pitching.
Earlier in the show, Dennis and I came up with our predictions for the Indians. Give me the amount of wins you think they'll have and where they'll finish.
I'm going to go with 92, and I think that they're gonna win the Central by, I'm going to say, 3 games.
And then what?
Oh, and then I'll tell you, I think that they get to the American League Championship Series, and I want to say that they'll probably lose to the Yankees in the championship series.
All right, we're about the same. I think I had 91 wins. Dennis had 90, I think. All right, Mike, thanks so much for joining us, and we will talk to you very, very soon.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, Mike Macetta at Nature's Zone, one of the great companies in Northeast Ohio. 216-575-0403. When we get back, we'll take a look at our Facebook question of the day and more. More Sports at Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com. You have I'm the voice of Truth and Reason. Here's the voicemail of Truth and Reason. 216-200-6650 is the number to call. You can call anytime, 24 hours a day, and we'll get it on the show if it's a good enough call, and we hope that it is. Dennis Manoloff and I return in a moment. You'll follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/More Sports and Les Levine, with new content posted each and every day. Back in a moment. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
It takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling to bring the heat when things get chilly. Find us at 440-449-HEAT.
All right, 216-575-0403 is the number to call.
Almost the post-game show, Les. Almost.
Rob Manfred would be happy with this game.
Yeah, Manfred. Hey, get him in and get him out.
Hey, somebody asked me what Manfred's background was to be in a position to be promoted.
Labor lawyer, right?
Is that what he was?
Wasn't he? I thought he was an attorney.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, that's where a lot of these guys come from.
So we should go into his trial room and speed up the trials a little bit?
Yeah, and I'm sure that the Twins fans are thrilled, okay? You know, it's opening day, and it's decent weather, and they got all these amenities that they've talked about, and all this food, and the sous vide, and you got the long lines, and you come in to spend the afternoon and early evening. No. Get out of here. Hurry up. We got to move this game along. Nothing to see here.
We got another game on Sunday or Saturday.
I mean, if the game organically moves fast, then it moves fast. Yeah. Then you recognize it. Okay, it's a well-pitched game. The guys are throwing strikes. They're keeping the ball on the edges. Hitters aren't particularly good. But the force feeding of the shortening of games is ridiculous to me.
All right, we have shortened today's Les Levine date in history, but we do have the week in review. We don't have nothing happened in More Sports and Les Levine history. So let's take a look at what happened earlier in the week on this particular date, and find out historically what went on, or maybe not. Maybe
a long week.
A long week.
But. Yeah, listen.
Okay. That's what it is. We got a Facebook question.
Okay.
Facebook question of the day is, who needs to step up for the Indians for it to be a successful season? The thought was, who needs to have a career year? So let's take a look. Which player needs to have a career year for the Indians this season? Andy Mees says, with the outfield still up in the air, Tyler Naquin is staying healthy and having a big bounce-back year. Could go a long way to lengthening the lineup, which looks weak on paper. It's put up or shut up time for Tyler Naquin this year. Gerard and Morelli, both guys named Ramirez. That's Hanley and Jose. Have to be good all year long. Dennis Davis says Jordan Luplow. Rick May, Roberto Perez with the infield limping and the outfield a crapshoot. Perez will have to get the most out of our starters. An improvement in his hitting wouldn't be a bad idea either. Glenn Berger says Carlos Santana needs to have a big year. Not a lot of power hitters on this team. Santana needs to drive in runs and be counted on as a run producer this year. Tyler Henson says, everybody that's healthy, our guys are dropping like flies.
I've been waiting.
Yeah.
Post-game show alert. Post-game show alert.
It's over? Game's over?
It's all over in Minnesota.
2-0. Indians had, 2 hits?
Indians lose 2-0. The sky is falling in some people's worlds. But we urge caution, relax. I do say this, though, and this is not a reaction to one game or overreaction. Yep. The Twins, I believe, are going to be a thorn in the Indians' side for a while.
Right.
Possibly as much as the rest of the season.
Well, they got some veteran hitters now.
It doesn't mean I think they're going to win the division, but I think they're going to be right there with the Indians for a long time. They have legitimate hitters. I think their lineup, when healthy, is better than Cleveland's when healthy. Obviously, huge disparity in the rotations. I get it, but here's your final box score, line score.
2-4-0. The Indians 0-2-0. Kluber pitched great, 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 5 strikeouts. He also issued 1 walk. Gonzales went 1 for 2.
Marwin
with a
Gonzalez.
double. Yeah, Marwin 1 for 2, a double and 2 RBIs. And Barrios, 7 2/3, no runs, 10 strikeouts in 7 2/3 of an inning, and one walk issued. That was to Carlos Santana. All right, so if you want to talk about it, if you were watching the Indians game and you're watching us right now, we've got the live post-game show. If you want to join in, 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Well, the word on the Indians was great pitching, not so good hitting. Well, they didn't have the hitting, and they wasted great pitching. So even if your pitching is great, you're going to lose games 2-0, 3-2. You got to find offense somewhere along the line, Dennis.
Yeah, and I mean, I keep thinking about in a scoreless game, you have the runner at second for the Indians with no outs.
Early on, about the 3rd or 4th inning.
Yeah, and you have Jose Ramirez at the plate, and you expect something other than a pop-up. Now, what did we see in the second half of last year and into the postseason with Jose Ramirez?
Well,
pitchers decided, you know what? He's not getting any fastballs anywhere near the plate.
Right.
We're going to throw him breaking stuff and changeups.
and if he wants to swing at it, be my guest.
Absolutely. We are going to capitalize on how antsy he can get at the plate, how eager he gets at the plate. And I want to say, I can't be positive, I glanced at it as we were heading into the studio. I want to say the pop-up by Ramirez on the Barrios pitch was a changeup, which is or at the very least, an off-speed type of pitch that is the one that was causing Ramirez problems because he was too eager. And once he pops out, now you got one out. Barrios is looking at this going, I could get Tyler Naquin out.
I don't care if he's third on the batting order.
And sure enough, strikes him out. And then the next batter's out, and that's the end of the inning. So to me, there was the opportunity there for the Indians to do something and put some kind of pressure on the Twins.
Without overemphasizing one game, as we talked about before, they're going to have to do more situational hitting. They just have to. And I think you hit it on the head in Ramirez's case that he was flustered last year. He was also changed his swing. He looked at his home run total and wanted to get it higher than that. And
wanted 40.
Yeah, wanted to get 40. Didn't get it. And you're going to have to adapt, especially when you look down the lineup and 5 through 9 is not, at least at this point, not very good.
Yeah, and here's the debate that rages in 21st century baseball, given all of the analytics and all of the, the 21st century thinking about the game.
Right.
Is small ball is for the birds. The new schoolers say, no, you don't bunt guys over. You don't give up and out. You swing for the fences. You try to draw walks because on-base percentage and slugging percentage are paramount.
Do you find it strange that Chris Antonetti, as an example, came up through the Ivy League and all that, but still came up with fundamental baseball? Mark Shapiro did, so did Chris Antonetti, and yet it's almost like they're just tossing it to the wind now.
Well, the new school guys would say that their version is fundamentally sound, but I know what you mean when you use the word fundamentals. Fundamentally getting runners over,
right.
Sacrificing them over. How many hit and runs, run and hits have you seen in the last? Let's say. Of course, you're going to laugh and say, "Oh, they didn't play during the offseason." I'm saying in the last 12 to 14 months of MLB games that count. How many times have you seen run and hits?
It's a
runs?
lost art.
It's a dinosaur these days.
Bunting
Sack
used
bunts
to be
are
that
being
way.
taken away.
Yeah, bunting was even more of a dinosaur, but that's what's happening with today's game.
Unless I know that the new schoolers will say, and I'm for new school stats and whatnot to a degree. But there's also a human element in the game, and you have to read the game and say, you know what? Maybe in this case, I'm going to go ahead and play for one run.
Yeah.
Even though the book tells me don't do it.
Which is the way Terry Francona likes to play the game.
Yeah. But in the case of the Indians today with Ramirez, would I have had him bunt the guy to third? No, not in that case because of what was behind him.
216-575-0403 if you'd like to talk about the game. Sokolowski's University, and I made my weekly appearance there today. A big crowd around, great people, the Sokolowskis, winner of the James Beard Foundation Award. And they're open 11 to 3 Monday through Friday, Friday and Saturday nights for dinner. There's no place better in this town for lunch. And it's centrally located 5 minutes out of downtown. Mike and Bernie Sokolowski's University Inn. We'll come back in a moment. Dennis Manoloff is with us thanks to Mike Smacetta. Back in a moment on cleveland.com.
The concrete in your garage is uneven, cracked, pitted, and just plain ugly. Transform your garage into a welcoming entryway with Nature Stone flooring. Reduce tracked-in dirt, eliminate puddling and salt damage. Plus, Nature Stone corrects uneven concrete so you don't have to worry about tripping or slipping.
Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of March and get up to 50% off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Let's take a look at this week in Les Levine sports history. Go back to March 25th, 1961. Les encouraged junior high school classmates to support its baseball team. The fans would have their own cheering section labeled More Supports and Les Levine.
Precursor.
Then we go to the next day, the 26th. As captain of the safety patrol at Roland School, Les suggests a wall between South Euclid and Lyndhurst, thinking both sides will pay for it. Then we go to the 27th of March. When baseball practice began for the Brush Arcs, Les's coach told him that his defense had to improve. Les said, well, why not use me as a DH? And the coach said, well, that's not going to be invented for at least 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of safety patrol,
Yeah.
I once got beat up while I was on safety patrol.
No.
Yeah. The guy that bullied me for 2 years.
What grade?
Fifth.
Fifth grade.
Yeah.
And you've got one of these bands showing.
Yeah. I begged not to be asked to do it.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell why,
Because
In
this
my
guy was
mind-
bullying you.
In my mind, I couldn't say why. Yeah,
Well, there was a weakness in those
right.
days.
You just, yeah. And
Not
I
today.
didn't tell my parents or anything. And yeah, you put that thing on, and it's like, it's an invitation for
You're a
trouble.
marked man.
And it was hard enough for me to hide from the
Did
bully.
you get back at him eventually?
No, he was.
Just let it go.
Yeah, well, he was eventually chased away, but by someone else.
Wow, I'm learning a lot of stuff
But yeah,
about you.
well, I mean, it was just when I think of safety patrol, unfortunately, that's what I think
Yeah.
of because the bully's so pervasive in my mind.
All right, the Indians a loser today, 2-0. They'll go back into action on Saturday, and then they open it up at home on Monday against the Chicago White Sox.
And by the way, let's Tom Hamilton explain why the Twins needed to open this week at home because next week is the Final Four.
Right.
So they
wanted day games.
Well, yeah, but they didn't want the Twins to spend the first however many days on the road or the first 2 weekends on the road. And that's the thing that people have to remember. I get every year there's complaints that certain teams are opening in cold climates with non-closed venues.
Right.
Here's the problem, though. You can't ask the warm weather teams to open up at home in late March, early April every single year.
Yeah, I
because
said
their
it before.
prime time, their prime home dates are just like
Same as
anybody,
ours.
any other city's
And
prime
they
home
can't
dates.
go with 12 days of kids not being out of school.
Sure, it's unfair to ask the warm weather teams. You have to open every year in the beginning of April because the cold weather teams have to, play.
As we've been telling you for the past few days, we now have the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We got a call in from Ross, who's in Florida. Let's hear what he had to say.
Hi, Les. This is Ross Barth calling from Florida. I've got some thoughts on the Indians. I think they are a reincarnate of the 54 team. They've got a great manager. They've got 2 potential Hall of Famers, a couple of old guys, and the best pitching staff to date in history. Let's hope they do as well and maybe a little better.
Ross, you're saying that this current Indians team could be as good as the 54 Indians?
All right, so hold on. So he said 2 Hall of Famers. You got Larry Doby, and who else is he thinking about? Well, Bob Feller, but he was
I'm
an
just
old
looking at
man
the
at that
Indians'
point.
record in 1954.
Yeah, 111 wins.
So you're telling me that Oh,
No,
I mean, that's right. He's not. He's
No,
not
you're
live.
talking to a machine.
I keep getting sucked into that rabbit. You're telling me this team, even when healthy, is going to even
I think
sniff?
I think he's talking about the composition of the team. That I don't know who the two Hall of Famers are, unless you call Al Rosen, who wasn't a Hall of Famer, but the year before finished this close to a Triple Crown year. Am I missing somebody?
You'll have to clue me in on the
Jim
54
Hagan was
Indians.
Hagan was the catcher. Strickland was the shortstop. Avila at second. Vic Wirtz first base. Right field Al Smith for the most part. Larry Doby in center, and Wally Westlake.
Is he talking about Feller and
Unless he's talking about the pitching, because you had Lemon.
You had Lemon and Wynn, right?
He must be. Each week, the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes students who are role models from across the state of Ohio. This week, we head to St. Edward's High School to meet Seamus O'Malley. O'Malley excels in football, wrestling, and in the classroom as well. The Ohio Lottery proud to salute Seamus O'Malley, this week's Shining Star.
Seamus O'Malley has gone back-to-back this year. The St. Edward senior now has a state championship in football and wrestling this year.
I guess my mindset still changes to this. It still has that championship attitude, but at the same time, it's just a little more grit in the wrestling room.
In the fall, O'Malley was a force on the St. Ed's defensive line. He led the team in a number of stats, like quarterback hits. But his favorite play came in Week 4 against Cincinnati Elder in the pit.
It was like the 6th play of the game, and they just fumbled it, and not too many people knew it was a fumble, and I just picked it up with my two hands and just got kind of a head start to run 53 yards and score that touchdown where I dove at the pylon. So it was really awesome.
And in the state finals, Seamus had a pair of sacks late in the game to clinch the D1 title, just like his older brother. Mike O'Malley was a star on defense when the Eagles went back-to-back in 2014 and 15.
So my older brother, Michael O'Malley, was the Defensive Player of the Year his senior year, and I know he got a couple sacks in the state championship game, so definitely living up to that was quite awesome.
Seamus actually has 5 brothers, 3 of which are younger than him, and because of them, his GPA is a 4.5.
They kind of motivate me to become a better student athlete and kind of show my younger brothers how to do it, and then kind of get better than my older brothers who have done it before me.
O'Malley announced in October he will wrestle at Stanford next year. Then in February, Seamus came through at the state duels. His pin at 220 pounds clinched the team title for St. Ed's, who rallied from 19 points down to win by 1.
He's lanky. He knows how to use his length. He's what I call he's deceptively strong. If he ever gets his hands locked on you, you're done. He's a lot stronger than he looks.
I think that going to Stanford, just the school-wise, how they combine their academics and athletics, to me was just the #1 goal throughout my high school career. So it's kind of where I shot towards, and I landed it.
Well, if you know a student deserving of recognition, visit OhioLottery.com, go to the About section, and then find the tab marked Supporting Education. Nominate him or her as an academic all-star. He or she could end up as one of our shining stars from the Ohio Lottery. A couple of emails in today, D-Man.
And I've been checking Twitter, and of course it's blowing up, as you might expect.
Well,
Bring back Shelley Duncan, among other things. Where's Aaron Cunningham when we need him?
What about Colin Cowgill?
Colin Cowgill,
That wasn't that
who was
long
in
ago.
an opening day lineup.
Yeah, that wasn't that long ago.
Colin Cowgill.
All right, Ken from Defiance says, I'm afraid today's game will be the norm for this year. Great pitching to many, from great pitching to many AAA hitters in the lineup. Good point.
Yeah. As of now, yes.
I recognized the other day, I recognized John Patrick, who's becoming a frequent, thank goodness, contributor to How Come Quickies. This one is it's a Progressive Field quickie in honor of opening day on Monday. How come the guy who drives the lawnmower at Progressive Field lists his education as diamond cutter?
Saw on Twitter, Les, the battle cry for the season.
Yeah.
Enjoy them while you can. Ouch.
You know what? Let's talk about that for a minute. No, before we do that, I want to go to Orlando. I'd like to go to Orlando. We'll say hi to Joe. Joe, good evening.
Hey, good evening, guys. Good show.
Joe, can you hit?
If I may, interject something that's contrary to what you guys keep harping on, the fact that Francona is some sort of a genius. You know, if you look at the situations, he's had fantastic teams and very little to show for it. And for me, the clincher is when Les points out that, the Cubs series, had it not been for the rain, this guy gets so many passes and excuses. I don't think he deserves it. Yeah, big deal. He's won some games, but my God, even now with a mediocre general team, he's got the best pitchers, and he doesn't, there's nothing to show for it. And one other thing, I'm not a baseball person by a long shot, but if it were me and I had a guy on second, and I don't care if it's my power hitter, I'd bunt.
All right,
it's so
Joe.
imperative to get the guy to third.
All
So
right.
he can
Thanks,
score
Joe.
a lot of different ways. And one other thing I'd say, if you really look at it, a bunt probably creates more errors than any other play in
Well,
baseball.
that's a good point because defense doesn't know how to do it. Joe, thank you
Thanks,
so
Joe.
much. Enjoy the night. Ripping on Terry Francona.
Yeah, I disagree. That's not the guy you point to. Under Francona, I think the Indians have the most victories in the American League, if not all of baseball, since he joined.
In the last 7 years. This is his seventh year.
Yeah, he's not the guy that you point to as to what might go wrong with the Indians or what has gone wrong.
Let's talk serious about something you made light of a minute ago, and we all did.
Yes.
The rally cry for the year, which you said
Enjoy them
should
while
be
you
enjoy
can.
while you can. Will you agree with me that Paul Dolan really didn't mean it in a bad way? He was just being honest?
I agree with you there. I simply think that Paul Dolan it would be better if he kept a few things in his pocket. Doesn't mean I don't want him to talk to reporters or make statements or what have you. But a couple, don't tell me you fly coach. Don't tell me that you're losing money year over year when you're owning a team that's appreciating, and if you sold it today, you'd make hundreds of millions of dollars. And don't tell me enjoy Francisco Lindor while you can. It's okay for us to say that. Those of us who believe he will not be here very much longer, beyond
that would be my
3
answer.
years.
That would be my answer to it.
Well, right, but I'm saying I don't want the owner saying that. I wish Dolan would just say, look, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
What's the object of the owner's main object is to win titles, right? They've won 3 in a row.
Hold on.
Okay.
Is it? Some owners are in it for the cash.
All right, so here, I got an email the other day from Terry from Berea. He says that Paul Dolan should use this as like we would if we paid off our house, and then we'd have a line of equity. In other words, he's paid off the house of $325 million and now has the leeway to go to over $1 billion. He says, go in a sense, use it as a loan to spend this year or next year.
Yeah, listen.
Which is bad business.
Yeah, I'll listen to the argument that Paul Dolan said, look, we didn't win, we didn't get very far in the playoffs the last 2 years. We need to cut back. I'll listen to that. I'm simply saying that I wish Paul Dolan would not say a few things along the way. I'm not saying muzzle him. I'm not saying he doesn't have to tell the truth as he knows it, but try to be judicious about how you dispel some of that stuff.
Hasn't he been the best owner in town for the last 2 decades?
I mean, the hardcore Dan Gilbert supporters, because you got to take Haslam out of it, and you got to take any Browns owner out of it.
Okay.
So it's down to Gilbert versus Dolan.
And Gilbert had LeBron James helping him along the way.
Well, that's the thing. The Gilbert supporters would say, even though he had LeBron, he's still a winner, and he won a title and all this other stuff. I happen to think that Dolan would probably be the most stable of the three.
All right, great job by the D-man as always, getting through a show, going up against opening day. The Indians a loser by a score of 2-0. Next week, Wednesday, Mary Kay Cabot is going to join us, so we'll talk some football on that day. Bud Shaw on Tuesday. You back Monday or Thursday?
Yes, sir, if you'll have me.
I think I will. I think I will. Thanks to the great Dennis Manoloff. We'll see you tomorrow, Monday. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.